Thank you so much, Jessica. Greetings to you and to the viewers at home. The people of the Eastern Cape, and in particularly the Nelson Mandela Bay region, received very shocking news on Friday last week, that of the passing of Pamela Mabini, who was the community activist and a gender-based violence activist. She fought for GBV victims and also assisted a number of them. We know her from her involvement in the Timothy Omotoso case in Gqeberha. Unfortunately, she was gunned down on Friday outside her home. To talk more about this, let us now rope in Thobeka Msengana from the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a bit painful and unfortunate that we get to lose GBV activists in this manner. Do you perhaps think that this has anything to do with her work?
Well, I mean, we can't speculate, but I do think that because she was such an active person publicly in her activism role, it's possible, and it's a really an unfortunate incident that could have been to someone who does such an important work for GBV survivors.
How does then affect the work of gender-based violence activists?
I think this is a threat to activists at large. Nationally, it is a threat to the work that we're trying to do as far as GBV is concerned. It's disheartening, and it really is a setback for people that really want to see change in terms of GBV in our country and internationally as well. So it definitely does put a bit of a fear in people who are publicly supporting GBV survivors, who are publicly calling out, GBV perpetrators, to make sure that this does not happen to anyone.
Speaking of trust, do you think maybe that they need to be protected somehow?
I do think that GBV activists do need protection, especially when one is involved in, cases such as the Omotoso case. It's very important that government does put systems in place to make sure that when people are coming forward in support of GBV survivors, especially in cases that are very public, that there is measures in place to make sure that their safety is protected.
In your statement, you said that the country makes 2 steps forward in fighting gender-based violence and then 3 steps back. What do you think is the main cause of that?
So I think the main frustrating point is that there are systems that are put in place, but we don't see change coming, and we don't see action, right? So at policy level, there are changes that are being made, but we don't see those translating on the ground. And I think that is very frustrating for GBV activists and people that really just care about the work of GBV. I think it's also a matter where people really want to see that government is doing something to fight the scourge of GBV, I think we need assurance that it is a priority, at government level.
Now, how do we get that insurance? The president is always talking about plans to fight gender-based violence, and they set up GBV centers. Everything is there on paper, but as you say, it does not translate to what is happening on the ground. How do we then get to that position?
I think as a Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation, we've always called upon government to really make sure that the translation of policy does come, at ground level. That is, make sure that there's proper support of the NGOs that are on the ground, that are working with, the survivors, that we need to see action taken as far as perpetrators are concerned. We do need to see the justice system also coming, to the party and making sure that cases such as Omotoso, they don't drag for a very long time, putting survivors, putting activists at risk. So I think it's all well and good to have policies, but we need the policies in action. We need government capacitating NPOs and NGOs that are already doing the work, that is, provide the essential support to make sure that the work is being done properly.
All right, before I let you go, what kind of assistance do you as the NGOs need to fight this scourge?
I mean, at this point in time, I do know that a lot of NGOs are losing funding due to, international relations issues that we all know about. So at funding level, there are a lot of NGOs that are doing a lot of work to support GBV survivors and families. So funding being one, but also things like infrastructure, resources for centers that do exist, so making sure that the safe houses are actually safe. There is facilities for people to be able to actually live in those safe houses as they wait for the support and interventions that are waiting for. So I think there's a lot that government can actually do to support NGOs and to support people that are really doing the work on the ground.
Your last words to the Mabini family?
I think it's, of course, we are saddened by this traumatic death, and we want to say, it is something that you don't wish to see. It is, as I said in my statement, it is disheartening for people like myself and for foundations such as Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation who know, the importance of standing up against gender-based violence, and to have someone gunned down in such a manner really is a tragic, but family, and we hope that they will find healing in the near future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Right, that is Thobeka Msengana from the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation, sending the words of condolences and comfort to the Mabini family on the tragic death of Pamela Mabini, who was a GBV activist fighting for victims and supporting them in any manner possible. She is calling for the government to make sure that they fight the gender-based violence scourge and support every NGO that is there to make sure that this scourge is being dealt with. Back to you in studio.